Level 1. The Recruit. Your phone buzzes at 11:47 p.m. on a Friday. You are 23 years old. You are 9 months into your first job at a bulge bracket investment bank. You have slept 4 hours a night for the last 3 weeks. You are in your studio apartment eating cold seamless from a container you can't remember ordering. The phone is a headhunter whose name you have heard twice in your life. She is telling you that a fund kicked off, that your process starts in 26 hours, and that she has already locked in 3 interviews for you tomorrow between 8 a.m. and 2 a.m. You do the math and realize that 2 a.m. is not a typo. You say yes. You hang up. You open your laptop, and you start studying. The on-cycle process is 14 months ahead of when you will actually start the job. The funds interview you based on 9 months of banking experience for a seat that begins 2 years from now. This is the industry. This is normal. Nobody outside finance believes you when you describe it because it doesn't sound like a real thing that exists. And yet every banker in your class is doing it right now, at this exact moment, in studio apartments across Manhattan, eating cold food and Googling LBO walkthroughs. The next day you interview at 8 in the morning, at noon, at 4, at 8 p.m., and at 1:30 in the morning. The last one is at a fund whose name you used to see in newspapers. The partner who interviews you asks you to model a deal from scratch in 45 minutes. You do it. You don't remember doing it. Your hands knew what to do even though your brain had stopped tracking hours ago. They tell you they want to make you an offer at 3:15 a.m. They want you to accept in the room. If you leave to think about it, you lose the seat. They tell you this politely. They offer you coffee. You accept the offer. You accept the coffee. You walk out of the building into a Manhattan that is somehow already morning. Sky the specific shade of blue that happens between 4 and 5. And you realize you just sold your next 2 years to a fund you had never heard of before this week for a base of $200,000 and a bonus that will be another $125,000, give or take. You call your parents. You don't call your girlfriend. You text your bank staffer a lie about a family emergency. You go home. You sleep for 3 hours, and you're at your desk at the bank at 9 a.m. And nobody there can know what happened last night, because telling them means getting fired before you even start the next job. The first rule of Level 1. The industry eats its own. By the time you realize the process is insane, you've already signed the offer. Level 2. The Associate. You start 18 months later. You are 25 years old. You have spent the last year and a half finishing your banking stint, telling exactly 4 people about your next job, and lying to the rest. The fund flies you to New York for orientation on a Monday. There are 9 other associates in your class. You recognize 3 of them from the recruiting circuit. You've never spoken to any of them. By Friday of week 1, you know which ones will still be here in 2 years. The work starts on Tuesday of week 2. A partner drops a deal memo on your desk at 9 a.m. and asks for a first-pass LBO model by end of day. You build it. He opens it at 7 p.m. and asks why you assumed the synergy target ramped in year 2 instead of year 3. You have no answer. You have never had to have an answer before. Your old VP in banking would have had the answer. Your old VP in banking is not in this building. You go back to your desk. You rebuild the model. You leave at 1:15 a.m. You had assumed private equity would be banking with slightly better hours. In a purely mechanical sense, it is. You work 70 to 85 hours instead of 90 to 100. You don't get staffed on fire drills at 3 a.m. for a 9 a.m. pitch. But the volume per hour is denser. There is no waiting. There is no downtime. There is nobody above you checking your numbers before the partner sees them. An 85-hour private equity week feels heavier than a 100-hour banking week, and you can't explain why until about month 6 when it clicks. In banking, you were a cog. In private equity, if your number is wrong, the fund might buy a $400 million company based on your wrong number, and the partner will know it was your wrong number. You wake up anxious every morning. Not a metaphor, a specific physiological response, heart rate elevated before your eyes open. You think this will pass. It doesn't pass for 12 months. Your girlfriend from banking days is still your girlfriend, technically. She's a consultant. She travels Monday through Thursday. You are home Monday through Thursday, but you are working until 1 a.m. most nights. When she gets back Friday, you have a model due Sunday. You sit on the couch together, laptops on your laps, and you tell yourself this is fine because at least you're in the same room. She falls asleep on the couch one Saturday afternoon at 4:30. You keep working. You don't wake her up for dinner. This happens 3 times before she mentions it. You make $275,000 base. Your bonus is $155,000. You have more money in your account than your father had when he retired. You don't feel rich. You feel tired. You feel specifically the kind of tired that money does not fix, and you have not yet figured out that this kind of tired has a name and a progression, and that you are only at the beginning of it.
Level 3, the senior associate. You survive 2 years. You get the senior associate nod. You are 27. You are good at the work now. The model that used to take you 9 hours takes you 3. You know what the partner will ask before he asks it. You have learned the specific tone to use with a portfolio company's CFO when you need something by Friday and they want to give it to you the following Wednesday. The anxiety is still there, but it's quieter. It has become texture instead of terror. The first carry payout of your career lands on a Thursday in March. Your fund from 2 years ago exited a portfolio company at 2.5x. The firm returns capital to the limited partners, clears the hurdle, catches up. The partners do the math. The carry pool is $280 million. Your cut as a pre-MBA associate at the time the fund closed is 0.07%. You do the math. You open a calculator. You type it out even though you can do it in your head. $196,000 gross, before taxes, before the hold requirement that determines long-term capital gains treatment, before the clawback reserve that holds 15% until the fund fully winds down. You will actually receive around $125,000 over the next 3 years in irregular installments. The VP one desk over from you, who worked on the same deal, tells you at lunch that his payout was just shy of $800,000. The principal on the deal got north of $2.4 million. One of the partners, you find out later, took home $11 million off that single exit. You understand, sitting in the conference room eating a salad from the same sweet green you eat from 4 times a week, that the compensation in private equity is not linear. It is exponential. You are not 1 step below the VP. You are an order of magnitude below. The ladder you thought you were climbing has rungs that are spaced further apart than your eyes could measure until you stood on one. A friend from your banking analyst class quits the same month. He was at a competing fund. He takes a corporate development job at a software company in Minneapolis. His new salary is $180,000 with some equity. His hours are 9 to 5. He buys a house with a yard. He sends you a photo of the yard. You don't know how to respond to the photo, so you don't. His name is Marcus. You will think about him more than you expect to over the next 15 years. You stay. You tell yourself you are staying because you like the work, which is half true. You tell yourself you are staying because the money is coming, which is mostly true. What you don't tell yourself, because you aren't ready to look at it yet, is that you are staying because leaving now would mean admitting the deal you made at 23 was not as good as you thought it was, and admitting that is harder than working another 3 years on the road you already picked. The second rule of Level 3. The carry math is designed to keep you. It does not pay out at the moment you need it. It pays out years later, by which time you have built a life that requires it. Level 4, the vice president. $600,000. Then $700,000. You are 30. You are no longer the one building the model. You are the one signing off on the model. You manage 2 associates and 1 senior associate. You run the investment committee prep. You are the bridge between the partners who decide what the fund does and the associates who execute what the fund decides.
On any given deal, you are the only person holding every variable in your head at the same time, and if the deal fails in a way that reveals you missed something, it is your name next to the failure. Your primary portfolio company is a mid-sized industrial distribution business in Ohio. The firm bought it 2 years ago for $340 million, using $210 million of debt. The thesis was operational improvement. Your job for the last 18 months has been to make the thesis real. You have visited the company twice. Both times you flew in on a private car from the airport, spent 7 hours in a conference room with the CFO, and flew out the same evening. You have never walked through the warehouse. You have not met anyone below the VP level. You would not recognize any of the 1,200 hourly employees if one of them walked past you at a gas station. The operating plan you built in year 1 called for $4.8 million in annual labor savings. In a conference room in your New York office, on a Tuesday in October, the CFO of the portfolio company joins a video call. He walks through his proposed restructuring. A distribution center in southern Ohio will close. 340 positions will be eliminated. 280 of them will be hourly workers. Average tenure at that facility is 11 years. The youngest affected employee is 19. The oldest is 64, 8 months from her retirement eligibility date. You did not propose this plan. You did not decide this plan. The partners decided this plan. The CFO is executing this plan. You are the one who, 2 years ago, sized the plan. You are the one who put $4.8 million into the model and made the returns math work. Without your $4.8 million assumption, the fund would not have bought the company. The company would not be closing the Ohio facility. The 340 people would still be employed. You nod on the call. You ask 2 clarifying questions about severance structure. You approve the plan. The call ends. You go to lunch. You don't know their names. You will never know their names. The distance between your conference room and their break room is not measured in miles. It is measured in layers of corporate abstraction, each one of which removes a little more of the texture of what is actually happening. You start dating someone in February. Her name is Julia. She's a pediatric resident. You cancel 3 dinners in the first 2 months because of deal emergencies. By April, she stops scheduling dinners on weeknights. By June, she stops suggesting weekends. By August, she is still your girlfriend, technically, but the relationship has become a scheduled event on a shared calendar, and the calendar reschedules it more often than it keeps it. You make $780,000 that year. You put $400,000 in the market. You do not notice the 340 people in Ohio the week they lose their jobs, because you are on a different deal, and the deal closes that Friday, and the fund exits at 2.8x, and you are a very good vice president. Level 5, the principal. You are 34. You make $1.4 million a year, with deferred carry across 3 funds that could, if the funds perform, be worth another $8 to $12 million over the next decade. You have stopped executing deals. You have started sourcing them. This is the transition that most principals do not survive. Sourcing means having lunch. Sourcing means going to industry conferences in Scottsdale and Miami and Park City. Sourcing means flying to Cleveland to meet the CEO of a family-owned chemical distribution business who does not want to sell his company, but might want to in 3 years if he trusts the person sitting across from him at dinner. You are the person sitting across from him at dinner. You are 34 years old. He is 67. His wife is with him. You have a drink. You talk about his grandchildren. You do not mention the word deal. You do not mention the word acquisition. You file a memo on Monday about the tempo of the conversation and the tells of his willingness to transact. This is the job. You are being evaluated on how many of these dinners turn into deals over the next 3 years. You are bad at it. Not catastrophically bad, adequate. You are used to being extraordinary. Adequate feels like failure. You lose 2 deals to competing firms that year. The partners do not say anything. They do not need to. The partner comp meeting in December is 40 minutes. You go in expecting a conversation about your book.
The partner asks you about 3 CEOs you met with last quarter. He wants to know which ones are live. You give him 3 names. He writes down 2. The third one, he says, was already brought to another team last year. You didn't know that. You should have known that. You walk out of his office with the specific feeling of a door that is not yet closed, but has started to close. Your wife is a VP at another fund. You met her at an industry event when you were 28. She understands what you do without you having to explain it, which means you don't have to explain it, which means you don't. You have not had a long conversation in 14 months that wasn't about work, the house, or her mother's health. You love each other. You tell each other this. You mean it. You also don't see each other most evenings until after 9 p.m., and by 9:30 she is answering emails and you are answering emails, and the evening is a thing that happens on 2 laptops in the same kitchen. Marcus, your friend from the associate class, shows up at a mutual friend's wedding. He has gained 15 pounds. He looks relaxed in a way that scares you because you can't remember what your face looked like that relaxed, and you're pretty sure the answer is never. He tells you he works 45 hours a week. He tells you he went to his son's soccer game on a Tuesday afternoon last month. He tells you he makes $320,000 a year and doesn't know how he ever worked the way he used to work. You go home from the wedding. You don't say anything to your wife about the conversation. You don't know what you would say.
Level 6, the partner. You make it. You are 41 years old. You are a partner at one of the larger middle market funds in New York. Your cash compensation is $4 million a year. Your carry in the current fund, if it performs at its midpoint projection, will pay out $18 to $22 million over the next 6 to 8 years. You own a 6-bedroom house in Greenwich. You renovated the kitchen for $220,000 18 months ago. Your 2 children are 7 and 5. You know their ages. You do not always know what grade they are in because the grades change, and the school year never quite overlaps with the fund year, which is the calendar that actually governs your life. Your days are flights: Monday in New York, Tuesday in Chicago, Wednesday in London, Thursday in London, Friday back in New York for the investment committee. Your assistant manages a calendar that has 7 time zones in it at any given moment. You have eaten dinner at the Connaught so many times that the bartender knows your order. You have not eaten dinner at your own dining room table in 6 weeks. On a Tuesday morning in March, you approve a restructuring plan for a portfolio retail company the firm bought 3 years ago for $1.2 billion. The plan calls for the closure of 420 stores and the elimination of 14,000 positions. You approve the plan via email from the Peninsula in Hong Kong at 6:47 a.m. local time. The email takes you 90 seconds to read and 30 seconds to respond to. You go back to sleep. The announcement happens on a Thursday. You do not attend the all hands. You are in a diligence session in a different city for a different deal. You have not walked through any of the 420 stores that are about to close. You do not know the name of any of the 14,000 people who are about to be laid off. The next week, a reporter from a major newspaper calls the firm for a comment. You are not the person who gives the comment. You are the person whose initials appear on the approval email that nobody outside the firm will ever see. Your wife asks you to see a therapist. You go. You go twice. The therapist asks you a question about what you want, and you realize, sitting in the chair, that the question has no answer, because you have not asked yourself what you want in any serious way since you were 22 years old. Everything since then has been what the next rung required. You tell the therapist you'll think about it. You don't go back. You fly business. You have a driver in New York and a different driver in London. You give $400,000 a year to a mix of charities, which is the amount your tax accountant said would be optimal. You know, in a quiet way that you do not often permit yourself to examine, that most of the money you have accumulated came from companies that are worth less, in some important way, after the firm owned them than before. You know this. You would not say it out loud. The intern from 2 summers ago messages you on LinkedIn. He wants advice. You respond with 3 sentences. You do not offer to get coffee. You used to do that. You stopped when you realized every intern wanted the same thing, and there were 80 of them every year, and your time was worth, by the partner comp formula, roughly $4,800 an hour. The math of generosity, like everything else, became a spreadsheet. You did not decide this. It happened. The sixth rule of level 6. The money is real. The cost is also real. Neither one cancels out the other, and the people who pretend they do are lying to themselves on one side of the ledger or the other. Level 7. The exit. You leave at 52. The carry from your last 2 funds pays out over the next 5 years. Your net worth, when the final distribution clears, is somewhere around $42 million. You don't check the number often. When you do, it is not the source of relief you thought it would be when you were 25. It is just a fact. You join 2 boards. You consult for a growth equity firm that wants access to your network. You play golf on Wednesdays for the first time in your adult life on a course in Westchester that your old MD got you into. Your first round, you shoot a 97. You don't care. You can't remember the last time you did something where you didn't care about the number. Your kids are 18 and 16. The older one is leaving for college in September. You sit on the edge of her bed one night in August and you try to remember a specific summer when she was 9 or 10, and you can't find it. Not can't remember it, can't find it. There is a shape where the memory should be, but the memory itself is not there, because you were in London that summer, and in Boston, and on a deal that closed in July, and the summer happened without you being in it. You call Marcus, your friend from the associate class. He is 52 also. He runs finance for a mid-sized software company in Minnesota. He sounds the same as he did at 29. He has been married to the same woman for 22 years. He coaches his son's baseball team. He tells you about a trip he took to Glacier National Park last summer with his wife and his kids and a dog he named after a pitcher he liked in college. He asks you how you're doing. You tell him you're figuring it out. He doesn't press. You think about the 14,000 people sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. You think about the 340 people in Ohio. You think about the warehouse you never walked through. You don't know what to do with the thinking. You don't bring it up in therapy. You don't bring it up with your wife. You bring it up occasionally with yourself at 4:30 a.m. on a Tuesday when you can't sleep, and the thinking does not produce an answer because the thinking arrived 25 years too late to change anything. The money was real. The work was real. The cost was real. Your kids are real. Your wife is real. Your $42 million is real. The 14,000 is real. None of these things cancels out any of the others. You understand this now in the specific way that only someone who has already lived through it can understand it. You would not trade the money back. You could not get the summer back even if you tried. The trade, the one you did not know you were making when you were 23, the one they did not describe to you in the brochure, is a trade you made. And now you live in the version of a life the trade produced, and the life is fine, and it is also yours. Somewhere in Manhattan right now, it is 11:47 p.m. on a Friday. A 23-year-old is in a studio apartment. He has slept 4 hours a night for 3 weeks. His phone is buzzing on the desk next to his laptop. The name on the screen is a headhunter he has heard of twice in his life. He doesn't know it yet. He thinks it's the beginning. It is.